Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at the first episode of Series 4 of Race Across the World, which in the UK aired on Wednesday. Side note, I'm still going to be reviewing Goosebumps and things like that. This is just something a bit current to see if anyone's interested in that. But I'm still going to be reviewing Creeped Out, Goosebumps, Haunting Hour, etc. So don't worry about that. So Series 4, the thing I found weird about this series is it doesn't start with this big opening credit scene. It's just started straight away. And when I was watching it with my wife, she didn't think it was the first episode because it starts the way it starts.
Konnichiwa. Doko Gangoji Temple.
Gangoji.
Arigato.
Careful, we cannot miss it.
It's all in Japanese, mate.
Come on, Mum, come on.
I'm trying, Isabel.
I know.
So after that opening bit, I don't know if you realise when you see it, these are actually shots from near the end of part 1 of the race. So it's kind of foreshadowing what we're going to see later on before we begin. Then we cut to 5 days before. So obviously this is the start of the race now. It starts in Japan. The weird thing about this before we even start is every other series we've had so far, which if you want me to cover them as well in the future, just let me know in the comments. They've started with everyone at the start line, effectively, at the same time. And they kind of go, this is where you've got to go, 3, 2, 1, go. This is quite an interesting one to watch. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the series as it progresses, because we've had other series like they went from London to Singapore. Last series they went from the west side of Canada to the east side, which was a bit weird because there wasn't really much of a language barrier. Whereas here we get to see Japanese culture. We're definitely going to see Tokyo at some point. So it's going to be interesting to see. They have to go from one of the northernmost islands in Japan, if not the most northern island, Hokkaido, I believe. And they've got the end of the race, which after I think it's 8 episodes this series, is going to end down in Indonesia. One thing they do in this series, which is quite good, they will give backstory on the places they go, any lore, any spiritual things, or economic, industrial things to do with that town or city. So it's really quite cool to hear those as well. It's sort of like a Travel Channel show, well, effectively is Travel Channel show, a travel show. It's nice to put that in. It's not just about the race. You can see these places if you want to visit them yourself or if you want to know about them. Another thing I want to mention that's not relevant to the race at all, there's this sound effect, and they've used it pretty much in every series. It's from a video game, and I'm sure it's a stock sound, and it existed way before that video game and other things, but I specifically always think of Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube when I hear it. And I say that because they use this sound effect a lot. If you've not watched this and you're planning on watching it, they use it. It almost sounds like a whip as well. They use it like every time they cut to the map. Sometimes they're already on the map and they're going to say, well, then we're going down here. They're starting in Sapporo, which is Hokkaido's capital. It looks quite fun. It looks quite nice, the part they're starting in. And we get introduced to our first pair, our first team. There are 5 teams. I could so see myself falling in on those stepping stones if I wasn't careful with a big backpack like that. But first, we are introduced to best friends Alfie and Owen, both 20 years old. I don't know if I'm going to mention everyone's ages here, but I will mention their names.
I think we can win.
I think we will win.
Whoa, confident.
Is that going to come back to bite Alfie? I don't know. I will, at the end of these 5 intros, I will kind of try and predict who I think's going to win without even having seen anything yet, and we'll see if that plays out later on in the series. We get to the shrine where they're going to pick up their travel pack and the money, etc. The weird thing here, and it's kind of funny, and then the program draws it out a little bit, because it was kind of funny to watch and go, oh, he's bowing too much because it's the culture and he's worried about getting the culture right. Alfie, I'm sure it's Alfie out of Alfie and Owen. It gets to a point where the camera's just staying on them and they're bowing, and the priest of the shrine is bowing, and it's a bit awkward. It's like it overstays its welcome of being funny, and now it's just, okay, now we're drawing this out.
Got to make sure we bow.
Yes.
To be respectful.
Yeah.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Hello.
Welcome to Japan. He is the priest of this shrine.
So all the teams aren't allowed to have phones, money, bank cards, and they'll be given a map, and the whole premise of the show, and it's been that way in every series, wherever they're starting, wherever they're finishing, the price of a flight from point A to the very end of the show, that's how much money they get given for the whole show to make the trip by land or sea.
Should we have a look, see what sort of money we've got?
To reach the finish line, less than £1,400 each.
So we've got Japanese yen
And pounds.
and pounds.
The equivalent cost of the airfare.
Throughout the journey, they can stop and work on the way. They can try and save money by taking maybe the train that's going to take longer. And we're going to see in this episode how quickly people can blow their money in the first stretch of the race.
See you later.
See you later. How cultural.
That was so the British thing to do. See you later after all that bowing and all the being respectful. And then it's just, see you later. Team 2 are a mother and daughter team called Eugenie and Isabel. Let's see what they're all about.
Because our relationship's quite rocky. Rocky's bad. Because our relationship is quite turbulent and it's up and down.
But then, what is turbulent? I think we're good.
Next, we're introduced to siblings from Yorkshire, Betty and a slightly young brother, James.
Really lovely.
Well-travelled Betty has enlisted her kid brother, James.
Fourth team are Bridie and Sharon, daughter and mother team. It's quite interesting to see two daughter and mother teams. Which one's going to be better than the other, we'll see. I think all teams will have kind of heart-touching and emotional stories at certain points in the journey, but I feel like this team's going to have, Bridie and Sharon are going to have the most emotional and touching story, and she says she wants to give back because her mum obviously has been her mum her whole life.
My mum's always wanted to travel. She's made a lot of sacrifices for me over the years, and now it's time for me to give that back to her. That'll mean the world to me.
Just the way she's talking to camera, she's welling up as well. I think this is going to be the emotional, heartfelt, maybe the people that they want the audience to get behind the most. Then we're introduced to our final team, our final pair. This is a retired couple, Stephen and Viv, who are looking for a new adventure.
Stephen and Viv.
We've never done this before.
We've never travelled like this.
Whoever leaves home not knowing where they're going?
Bag's getting heavy already. I think the body's about to give up. The amount of weight I'm carrying it.
I really like the sound of Stephen. He sounds really cool. He sounds like he's going to be down to earth and he's going to want to experience all these things, even though he's in his 60s that he hasn't experienced yet. And he kind of seems like he's going to be in awe of a lot of it. And I'm looking forward to what they get up to, just because I think Stephen sounds like he's going to wear his heart on his sleeve and tell you what he's thinking, how much he thinks of everything, and how amazing it is.
Equipped with the essentials. Time to find out
Okay.
where the race will take them.
Your destination is Lombok.
The finish line. The Indonesian island paradise of Lombok. 15,000 kilometres away.
But we're going to find out where they're going for their first checkpoint. They have to get these checkpoints along the way. I think there's about 7. And obviously when they get to the checkpoint, they can stay there for 36 hours, use the amenities for free, have free food, sleep for 36 hours, then they've got to leave. Obviously if you arrive, say, 2 hours after the team in front of you, you're not going to leave till 2 hours after them. And that could affect if you're going to be able to catch the trains and the boats and things.
Through 7 checkpoints. Only when they reach one will they learn where the next will be.
Quite interesting how they show us the 7 checkpoints. They might not name them all now, but they're going to show us, and you kind of see some of the checkpoints, like between 2 and 3 is a lot longer than 3 and 4, and you think, is 3 and 4 populated a lot? It seems like they might have made up for the fact that people have spent most of their money by then. So we're going to see, but this is the rough route they're going on.
They'll need to navigate Eastern Asia.
So this is herding ducks.
I can't wait to see the episode with the herding ducks. It looks like that they're doing a job, so they're getting paid to do that, and that looks really fun. I can't wait to see that episode. I don't know if it's going to happen in episode 1.
Awaiting the first team to cross the finish line.
We are so close. I'm excited.
A prize of £20,000.
So £20,000 if you win, and also if you can manage to make the money last. Sort of a free holiday as well.
Your first checkpoint is Nara City.
Let's go.
So the first checkpoint is Nara City, and the first thing that leaps out to me, and I've not been there, and if you've been there, tell me if it's nice. I'm sure this is probably near Nara Dreamland, which famously was a Disneyland that got built. Nara Dreamland, it was going to be the first Disneyland in Japan, and at the last minute, Disney wanted too much money for the rights to the Disney stuff, but they'd already built a castle and various other things, so it was a pseudo Disneyland that wasn't actually Disney, and there's still photos of it now. It's not about anymore, because when Tokyo Disney came about, it sort of put them out of business a bit, but it's quite interesting, and I think it's near here, and that's the first thing that struck out to me when I heard Nara. It's Nara City.
I'm guessing it's Japan.
It sounds Japanese.
We are terrible at this.
Shinkansen bullet trains reach speeds of 320 kilometres per hour.
No.
So bullet trains are off limits throughout Japan.
Oh, that's interesting that bullet trains are off limits. I wonder if they're quite cheap as well, because you can understand if they're expensive, it'd be like, well, the trade-off is you've got there quick, but you've run out of money. But it's a shame we're not going to see any bullet trains, or at least see them ride bullet trains on this one. Maybe in the last episode they'll change the rules, but I doubt it.
To reach the finish line, less than £1,400 each.
So we've got Japanese yen
And pounds.
and pounds.
The equivalent cost of the airfare. A budget of around £27 per person per day.
Just under £1,400 each. It's going to be interesting. I think Japan's quite expensive. I don't
think it's that much because Japan's quite expensive.
We're quite good at budgeting.
We live on a budget.
Yeah.
We're not used to frills anyway.
I think when they get to China, because some of those routes we've seen that they've not yet, some checkpoints are in China and things like that. I think near the end of the journey it's going to get cheaper, so it might be one of these ones where they'll spend a lot now, but really it might get a lot cheaper by the end.
We have got to budget our bums off.
I wonder if there's a shirt with that on. Anyone check for me? Is there a t-shirt with that written on it?
In the centre of Sapporo, a 147-metre high TV tower.
That sounded ever so slightly like the intro for Lay Down by Priestess.
In the centre of Sapporo. In the centre of Sapporo.
Funnily enough, I remember this tower from, it might have been quite a long time ago now, but when they had the Rugby World Cup in Japan a few times back, I remember that tower being featured a lot.
Once destroyed on the silver screen by Japan's famous pop culture icon, Godzilla.
Where are the others then?
Oh, I've got waterproofs on.
Oh, they are.
We don't.
No. Oh.
Okay, this is quite interesting now after what I said before. They are actually doing a start line. We're quite a long way into this. How long are we? We're over 10 minutes into this, and now we're doing the start line thing. But at least we're doing it. I'm happy they're doing it. I take back what I said. Let's get on with it. It's going to be cool. They're going to see each other briefly, size up the competition.
Do you want another bag, by the way? Because you look as if you can carry 2. Is that all right? Mother and daughter, I presume?
Yes, that's
lovely,
right.
Lovely,
Yeah.
Daughter's a bit shy.
Mate,
Right, don't be too friendly. Just don't be an arse.
that's really difficult for me.
I wonder if any of these teams haven't 100% planned what their first point of action is, and is running straight the opposite direction to everyone else, is thinking, oh my, what am I doing?
Let's go! Oh my God, it's real now.
There we go, come on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As well as Japanese manners and etiquette.
Blowing your nose in public or eating on the go are both considered rude.
Oh.
I find it funny if Sharon is reading that from a pack they got to begin with, because it looks like Alfie has just not taken that on board, considering how much he was bowing at the start. He was bowing to those people then when he was asking for directions, and now just plainly just throwing it all out the window. It does look really tasty though. So, map in hand, all the teams are trying to find someone who speaks English or can at least see that it's Nara City they want to go to, and they're all running around frantically to try and find the nearest way they can get there.
It's by Kyoto. Fantastic, thank you
you
very much. Arigato, bye-bye.
Stephen finds out it's near Kyoto, so we get an idea of where it is, and we get more of that sound effect as we look back at the map.
Originally Japan's capital, Nara City is home to one of the world's largest wooden structures that houses a bronze Buddha weighing 500 tons.
So we find out it's home to one of the largest wooden structures, and what I didn't know myself, something I'm learning today from this episode as well, was once Japan's capital. This is also a part of the journey where I'd be thinking, all the other teams are near me, I don't want them to see the route I take to begin with. I want a little bit of an advantage to start with. Don't want them to see me if I get on a bus, see me if I get on a slower train than a bullet train or a boat. I just want them to not see where I've gone, so they're still held up a bit at the start.
We need a bus to Kyoto, but it's a long, long way.
Ferry, not bus, not here.
Oh,
Ferry.
ferry. Ship.
Oh, you have to get a boat there. There's a gap.
Bridie and Sharon realise that there's a gap between the bits of land, and they have to actually take a boat to another island of Japan.
It's an island.
Teams could take short ferry crossings to explore the north of Honshu.
It's going to be interesting to see what culture they come across and what they see. And I also feel like, looking at this map they've got now, did they all get given the same kind of map? Because I think Bridie and Sharon's one looked like Japan looked bigger on it, but they're looking at a global map there, Alfie and Owen, and I just feel like Japan's so small on it, they could have done with a larger map of Japan. I suppose they are going to China and other places in the other episodes, but they could have done with maybe a regional map, at least to start within Japan.
Up well-connected transport links down the east coast through 21st century Japan, embodied in the shiny metropolis of Tokyo. Others might prefer to stay longer at sea. Although slower than travelling by land, teams could skip the north entirely, or bring into reach the west coast with its remote bays and spectacular Japanese Alps.
We just need to keep moving. When Alfie's got a thought in his mind, he gets very fixated on that. He gets tunnel vision.
We need to get to Tokyo as soon as possible.
And he'll just a bit like talking to a brick wall sometimes.
So Alfie and Owen decide that they want to go to Tokyo first. It's a good hub, it's the capital. They'll be able to get, it's a hub of network lines and travel ways and through lines, so they should be able to get to there and get to anywhere they want to go from there.
Okay. We need to get down to one of these ports.
Yeah.
I'm against spending longer times at sea. I think we catch a shorter ferry and then direct bus to Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Alfie and Owen are straight to it. They want to get the shorter ferry and take a bus all the way to Tokyo, and then also get a bus straight from there to checkpoint Nara City, which, to be fair, sounds like a good plan. Let's see how it pans out for them. That's probably, if I was one of them, if I was Owen listening to Alfie, I'd pretty much go for that plan right now. It sounds pretty on the nose, on point, fewer changes, sounds like the way to go.
Already at Sapporo train station.
Can we make the 16-16? Can we do it? Is it possible? Come. Yeah, come on, let's do this.
Eugenie and Isabel.
I also forgot, I didn't predict so far who would win. At the moment, I have seen a little bit, but it's still started. I think all in all, I think Stephen and Viv, sometimes the older couples in previous series have taken it a bit slower at times but made the better decisions.
Didn't think it'd be this bad carrying a bloody bag. Oh, it's my neck, it's up here. Oh, dear me.
I think if I had to put a guess on it now, I think Steve and Viv might secretly get this at this point. If I had to pick one now, it's either going to be Steve and Viv, or I think Eugenie and Isabel might. I'll go for Eugenie and Isabel. Let's see if they can win the whole thing. I'm not saying for this leg, but let's see. I'm going to hedge my bets out of nowhere. They're the team that I think will probably win it. I'd be happy for any of them to win it, but just beating Steve and Viv in my opinion. But who do you think's going to win? Because we've only had the first episode so far. But the whole thing, I think Eugenie and Isabel might win this. Let's see. Let's carry on. Another cool thing they do on this show is they show you the budget that the team have got, and also switched to the percentage of their original budget. So also 1% down already with the train fare. Eugenie and Isabel going for the nearest port to get the longer boat ride, which could be slower in the long run, but I don't know if it's going to work out cheaper. We'll see in a minute. But that's quite interesting. It's quite interesting, the different teams taking different routes. Be interested to see where they stop along the way if they want to take in some of the culture.
We didn't even ask when the next ferry is. We know that there's a port, and that's about it.
That's quite important. They didn't ask where the next ferry is, so maybe they'll get there and they'll have to wait even longer before there's even a ferry. They picked a heck of a day to do it, but Stephen and Viv have actually got the waterproofs. Let's see how they get on.
Like we're going to have to stop until no one
We
walks.
can't go,
They
cannot.
all obey the rules. It's brilliant. I love it. I think I could live in a place where everyone obeys the rules. God, I didn't think it'd be this bad carrying a bloody bag. Oh, it's my neck, it's up here. Oh, dear me.
Let's see how they leave Sapporo.
I've got the sandwiches.
Meanwhile, figuring out their first step.
Should we get on the train?
Oh, scratch that. We're going to see how Bridie and Sharon get on. They're talking about getting a ferry as well. They were the pair that we saw a bit earlier. They didn't realise that there was a bit of water between the land. They thought they could just take a bus or a train to the next destination.
Not the bus, not here.
Oh.
Ferry. Ferry.
Apart from the heartfelt bit at the start with Bridie and Sharon, I think we're also rooting for them because Bridie has got this dyslexia in the background of dyslexia, so she was struggling with the map, and it's going to be good to see her because I think in this series we're going to see her overcome, get even more confidence. She seems like she's already got confidence from having to deal with it in her life, but it's going to be interesting to see how that adds to her well-being and her confidence when she overcomes these things on this adventure.
I don't always ask for help in everyday life. I just say to people, oh, can you read this?
I'll take. You take it?
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Oh.
Me and Bridie are working as a team. I knew we would. In fact, Bridie's taking the lead at the moment.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Bridie and Sharon get on the train and they've seen Betty and James, the brother-sister team, brother-sister pair, and it's going to be interesting. They're quite excited. I'd be thinking, oh God, I don't want them to see where I'm going. I don't want them to follow me. Let's see how this pans out. I don't want to butcher this. I think it says Tomakame. Eugenie and Isabel are just leaving the port that Betty and James and Bridie and Sharon have got to. So they've managed to get an earlier train, get there. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the other two teams now have to wait. How long are they going to have to wait for the next ferry? And what are they going to see in that town if they have to wait? Maybe we're going to see some interesting Japanese stuff. But also, it's going to be interesting to see where Stephen and Viv go, because we know where Alfie and Owen are going. And we know Betty and James and Bridie and Sharon are taking the same ferry that Eugenie and Isabel have just taken, the same port, the same journey. We've not seen much from Stephen and Viv yet, so hopefully we're going to see some more from them soon.
Eugenie and Isabel are the first to set sail for Honshu on a 15-hour, 560-kilometre overnight journey down the east coast.
15 hours. That could cost them a lot of time. Depends how quick these buses are going to be for Alfie and Owen. If they manage to catch their ferry, they might get there as well, and it might not be leaving for a while.
Hopefully tomorrow our plan for travel will make a bit more sense rather than being really sporadic and random.
That being said, it seems like sporadic and random has helped Eugenie and Isabel today.
I feel like my role is to be the big little brother, being strong when she's not so strong.
I feel at this point James is too laid back, but I think that's the journey they're going on. As we saw in their intro, Betty's about 3 years older, I think. I think she's 25 and he's 22, I think it said. And she wants him to learn, so it's about her teaching her younger brother to experience things more and learn. And at the moment, we're not seeing that much. Hopefully we see that transition as the series goes on. Bridie and Sharon get a ferry tonight, but it's not going to go as far as Eugenie and Isabel have gone. But we're going to see. We're going to see if they can catch them up by land later on. And with that, they're down to 97% of their budget already. Obviously, I think I mentioned it at the start, they have opportunities during the journey. They've got a pamphlet that tells them places they can contact for jobs along the way so that they can do jobs and earn money back. But obviously that takes time.
By day at a time and see how it goes.
Might as well just get the ferry down to wherever they're going.
Should we do that?
Are we going to make it?
We make it on time?
Will we make it on time?
Oh.
It's a long way, come on.
Definitely panicked. I think I definitely panicked. James and I weren't communicating in the best way. I think over time we're definitely going to make decisions that are less rash.
But it seems like on the first day, these rash decisions have been what have got them onto this ferry, along similar to Eugenie and Isabel. It looks as if they're on the same ferry as Bridie and Sharon, so it's going to be interesting when they get off the other side. Do they follow each other? Does one of them try to secretly get off? It's going to be interesting. I was thinking it had been too long since I'd heard that Fire Blaster sound effect from Star Fox Adventures on the Nintendo GameCube. This is Honshu.
2 teams have landed in Honshu, the largest island in the Japanese archipelago, offering the chance to explore the many faces of Japan.
That was a weird transition. It seems like both those couples have now got onto the same train from what it's telling me there. We didn't see them get off. We didn't see... That seemed like a weird... They've left out a lot of stuff there.
Bridie and Sharon are searching for the Japan of myth and legend.
It's famous for fairy stories.
That seems so surreal, seeing a train that small, just one carriage long. I don't know if it's because it's not multiple carriages, it might just look it, but it looks like it's bombing along at a speed there.
We want to go there. Torno.
Famous for fairy tale. Japanese monster.
Yeah, monster. Yeah, monster.
And they seem, from the conversations we've slightly overheard, they want to go somewhere, a town based on fairy tales and monsters, so maybe we're going to see some really nice roadside attraction they're going to now.
The sleepy town of Tono, named for its folk tales depicting the exploits of mischievous water sprites. Said to be angered when not respected as gods.
The fairies.
They look like they're free or having a good old nap.
They're partial to eating cucumbers. And children.
He almost left that out. I think that's quite cool. These water sprites seem quite a novel folk tale, fairy tale. This looks quite cool. I like the quirky stuff, like the old Hans Christian Andersen, where there's a darker side to it before Disney touched it. And this is navigating those waters of those kind of stories. So this would be quite fun to see. So we learn a bit more of the background of Sharon and her upbringing.
My mum, she was a fruit picker. My dad was a miner. We lived through the miners' strike. We literally had nothing.
Her and Bridie have already said a number of times that they're used to living on a budget, so this shouldn't be too difficult for them.
Hi. Honestly, I could live on a penny. I'm excited to see everything.
I'm Mum and daughter. My friend. Your friend, yeah, that's what we thought. Oh, that's
I
nice.
love that. You want me to put these shoes on? Oh, God, I feel like Cinderella.
What would you? She wants you to have them.
So Bridie gets a present from one of the old women in the shop. She actually gets given her shoes off her feet. She literally takes an old woman's shoes off her feet.
Already we had that language barrier. Now we already expressed that love.
You could speak through actions. You could sort of...
She gave me her shoes. Those actions. Oh, I hope they're not her going out with shoes. Oh, that was beautiful. I will keep them hanging from somewhere in our house.
You've literally took shoes
off an old lady.
I know. Plan is now we need to work out how to get to Tokyo.
Haven't experienced Tono, and the brief bit we got to see, Bridie and Sharon have realised that they're now planning to also go to Tokyo. That's the central hub. It seems most of them want to go to try and get an easy access to Nara City. And we're back with Eugenie and Isabel, 160 kilometres south of Bridie and Sharon. They took the longer 11-hour ferry. It might have paid off for them.
Eugenie and Isabel have reached Sendai. But the pair are pushing on in a surprising direction.
I want to avoid Tokyo because Tokyo is very expensive.
So Isabel decides she wants to avoid Tokyo because of the expense. So it could be interesting if they bypass Tokyo. Is it going to be easier to get to Nara City? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the transport links are going to be there, but it'd be interesting to see what the time differences are going to be by the end of this first episode, how they get on.
A swing of 260 kilometres all the way across to the other side of the island.
So go to Nagata, find somewhere to stay overnight.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my head round why Nagata? When you look at where we are on the map, it looks quite random.
They're planning to go to Niigata, which is on the west coast, which apparently is a big travel hub as well. Interestingly, they could have taken a ferry from the original city. I can't remember what the name is. They could have taken a ferry from the original ferry they took. They could have taken a route from there when it looked at the map at the start straight to here. I think it would have been here or close to here. But obviously they were erratic. They jumped on that ferry. I'm not sure if they're aware that they could have got a ferry straight there from the original place, but maybe they would have had to wait longer. I'm not sure about you at home. Obviously tell me if you agree, but seeing the first 3 series, to save money and kind of get somewhere, I'd try and get, say, I don't know how big, because of the size of Japan, I don't know if it's even possible to do this because it's a smallish country. I'd try and get an overnight bus or train and sleep on there to save on hotel costs, but that's just me.
We can step out of race mode for maybe half a day or so and just experience Japan.
Making the short hop to Matsushima Bay.
Betty and James are actually going in the opposite direction to Matsushima Bay. Hopefully I didn't butcher that pronunciation. They think they've got enough time to take in the sights and sounds, so we're going to see them go slightly in the wrong direction, take some time out, hopefully not spend too much of their budget. Let's see what they can see. Let's have a little travel with them. I do really like that rock that's shaped like a wave. I think that's really cool. I wonder if that's naturally done by water. It's probably man-made, isn't it?
Betty aims to introduce her kid brother.
Oyster speciality.
I've never tried oysters and I probably never will. I'm put off by the fact, not necessarily the flavour or what they even look like. It's just, I've heard so many times, whether it be on TV or in real life, people getting food poisoning from oysters not cooked right or left out for too long, and I just don't want to risk it.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
In life, I'm fairly comfortable where I am now. Being the youngest one, still living at home and having mum and dad's protection, if you like. Whether that's a good thing or not, I'm not sure.
That menu reminds me of when I've taken holidays in Spain. They've just kind of printed it out off Microsoft Word with a few photos. I don't know why, it just brought back going to Spain and places like that.
We're experiencing Japan, but we've kept it to like a low budget.
So yeah.
Happy.
So, big,
Oh my
good
God.
portion as well.
They've decided to order a bit of everything but cheaper stuff to kind of experience the culture without spending too much money, and James says good portions as well. We're going to find out in a minute why that is.
Total bill to 2,900 yen.
2,900
yen.
900.
2,000.
What do we have? One rice?
Yeah.
250.
250 yen. 2,000 yen plus 250.
Okay.
Stupid mistake.
Let's just pay up and go.
They end up paying a lot more, 2,900 yen for their meal. Turns out they made a rookie mistake and they accidentally ordered the expensive caviar dish, which they earlier said that's a nice sized portion. It's like Tesco caviar. But yeah, it turns out it's a nice portion because it's expensive, but they take it on the chin and just pay it and say lesson learned, let's be more careful next time.
I'm glad we came still.
Yeah. But what now? Are you thinking?
What now?
We could potentially head south to Tokyo and maybe get a job and some money back.
I am quite happy that they've taken it on the chin. I mean, they've still got 90% of their budget at the moment, but you can see in past series when things like this have happened, it's totally wrecked them mentally, and maybe it would if they were further into their journey. But it's nice to see them take it on the chin, say they've had a good experience eating it, they'll learn from it. They still like the fact that they came there. It's also spurred them on to go to Tokyo, and they're going to try and find some work on the way to the first checkpoint.
Oh my God, that was hell.
We're back with Alfie and Owen after their 10-hour bus journey to Tokyo, and they're feeling a bit stiff, but they're ready to get on with the journey. They're the first team to reach the capital, Tokyo, and it's going to be interesting to see the sights and sounds of Tokyo and see what they're going to show us.
This is what I was thinking of. Literally this, you know, the high-rise buildings, the massive screens. This is amazing.
We've arrived on our schedule. We're so happy to be here.
Alfie, there were so many people there.
Oh my God.
It's a city simultaneously looking to the future
What is that?
and anchored in the past.
And as they go into one of these old areas with the sumo wrestlers, they're holding up babies, and there's a kind of competition where they're trying to scare the babies. And we find out that the winner, and it's seen as a sign of strength to cry in this country, which is quite eye-opening compared to cultures in the West. And the baby that cries the most and gets scared the most is actually the winner.
There are babies in front of it. I shouldn't laugh, that's really disrespectful.
I don't think they're going to appreciate him laughing, to be honest, at their culture.
So keen are the parents to have their babies cry, there's a waiting list to enter the 400-year-old Naki Sumo Festival.
Mate, the one on the right is doing so well. The one on...
More cry is winner.
Winner. Okay.
So the one that cries more.
Most is the winner. It's definitely refreshing to see that crying in a different part of the world is actually accepted. It's seen as something, you know, a strong personality trait. I used to get upset, you know, a lot when I was younger. Crying was my way of expressing my emotion. However, I never saw that as a weakness of mine.
After taking in the sights, Alfie and Owen decide they want to get this bus to Mount Fuji because that is one of the top tier bucket list things they want to do. Meanwhile, 700 kilometres to the north, so quite far behind, we actually catch up with Stephen and Viv, and I don't know how much of this I'm going to be allowed to show. They're sort of at a spa sauna where everyone in there is nude.
Not for 1 minute did I think I would be naked in Japan.
And they don't show anything, but I'm also going to not show footage that's even slightly suggestive. Although nothing is shown here, they do kind of get some shots from the back and things like that. So I don't know how much I can show you, but we're going to catch up with them.
The therapeutic mineral-rich waters, warmed by the country's abundance of volcanoes.
We find out that Stephen and Viv were the last team to reach Honshu, and they're taking their time, taking in the sights and the sounds, and I assume they took the same short ferry that Alfie and Owen did, considering where they are. So they're natural hot springs. I think also, when you see monkeys like that are well known for being quite hostile at times, that relaxed, you know it's a relaxing place.
Very alien to me, but you quickly embrace it.
We learn that they both retired after Stephen had a heart attack and Viv had a stroke. I like this. We're getting kind of backstory to the people's lives. We can get more attached and more emotional, more behind them and root for them. And hopefully they do catch the other teams up because they're quite far behind at the moment.
But I'm feeling that we actually need to make some progress. And I do think Tokyo is as far as we can go on a single bus.
But before we leave them, we find out that they're planning on taking a bus to Tokyo. That's the longest they can go on a single bus route, they feel. So that's where they're headed next. Then we go back to Alfie and Owen, which we've only just been with. So 3 days into their trip, and I'm going to flick back to something that was said at the start of the episode by Alfie.
World map.
Cannot lose these.
No.
Basically, Alfie, who seems the more on the data, on the numbers, very keep to our time, has misplaced their maps, and now they don't have a map, and they're only 3 days in to this venture.
3 days into our venture through Japan, and we don't have a map. Not ideal at all.
Yeah, that is quite annoying, I'll be honest, but we're just going to have to find maps.
Try and trace maps into here. I think we're here. It's not to scale. How many thumbs?
I also feel like Owen's taken it quite well. I think if the shoe was on the other foot, Alfie would be completely tearing him apart, but Owen seems to be the ilk of, well, you've lost it, let's get on with it.
I'm extremely scatty. For God's sake. Just don't give me anything that you want me to keep hold of in my hands. I think we're here. It's not to scale. How many thumbs?
It's not to scale. How many thumbs? That's just... is that going to be the random quote of the episode? I don't know. It's just quite funny. As they get on the bus, we kind of see... I've noticed that it said something along the lines of Thomas Lane or Thomas Bus, something there. And we see the Fat Controller who's known as my day. I think he's now Sir Topham Hatt, I think is his name now. I hope I've got that right. I just noticed that on the bus, so I thought that was interesting. And then Owen says he's hungry, and, well, Alfie says...
I'm so hungry now.
Did you eat the map?
Cut to day 4, we're at Mount Fuji now, and just look at those clouds. It's just so surreal.
Red symbol of Japan, Mount Fuji. Legend says a goddess put the elixir of life on its peak. This sleeping giant hasn't erupted for over 300 years.
Sounds silly. I didn't actually realise that Mount Fuji was a volcano. I just thought it was a mountain.
Frustrating because he's so messy. We got into the tent last night and he just throws his bag into the corner, gets everything out possible, and then just leaves it there.
It seems like they've changed roles because I would have expected Owen to be the messy one, but I think also Alfie having lost the map, I think that's going to put a lot of stress on himself. I think he's going to be tearing himself up inside, so it's sort of understandable, I think. So to pay for their camping pitch at Mount Fuji, they've actually taken on a job from the directory. They tell us about the directory here that they...
To boost their budget, teams are provided with a directory of local job opportunities. And the boys have picked up a day's work cleaning to pay for their prime pitch in the foothills of the Holy Mountain.
I think you're cleaner than me.
I'm 100% cleaner than you.
Yeah.
I've been just a bit less organised.
I've been a lot more organised so far on the race, though.
I mean, that is quite confusing considering you lost the map. Not pointing the finger,
we don't know. Hang
I'm not
on.
saying it was you, but if it was, then it's a slightly confusing statement.
And if it was you, it's an even more confusing
yeah,
statement.
But we...
Shh, we don't mention the map, Owen. Also, side note, he says if it was. Do you imagine there's a twist later on, further down the line in the episode, where either we find evidence somehow that Owen lost it, or they find the map, and all this kind of comments with a bit of venom added to them just seem pointless.
It's so cloudy today that I'm not hopeful.
I do feel for them, though, if they've gone to all this effort, they've taken the job opportunity and stuff, gone a bit out of their way, I think, as well, go and see Mount Fuji, and then it's cloudy on the day. I do feel a bit sorry for them. Isabel actually going further away.
After slingshotting all the way to Niigata, Eugenie and Isabel have headed even further west to Sado Island.
This just seems like that's going to cost them money to get there and get back, unless that is a travel hub in itself as well. Seems like an odd thing to do, but maybe there's something they want to experience there, some culture, some sights. They've wiped out almost another 10% on this little trip. They're now down to 80% budget remaining, so they're going to have to find some work at some point, but maybe they're going to get ahead at the moment when everyone else is stopping for work.
5 tiers of the Myo-Senji Buddhist temple took 2 generations of carpenters over 30 years to complete.
That is insane, and it looks so beautiful as well.
I'm gonna try a selfie.
Are you serious? Aren't you supposed to hold it up, not down?
I feel like Isabel should have saved money on... They spent about £27, it said, on the meal there. They should have saved money on that, and she could have bought a selfie stick for her mum, because it looks like her mum's going to be taking a lot of selfies. She wants to take a lot of photos on this trip, it looks like. And Isabel's kind of being a bit down about it and saying, look, experience it, don't take the photos. But you've got to understand, take some photos. Let your mum take some photos. This is a once-in-a-lifetime trip.
I think this is no entry. Oh, it just says no street shoes. Go up and just have a look.
I like how after all that, she sends the daughter anyway in case they're going to get in trouble.
Would you go in there for? And you weren't meant to be in there.
It turns out she was a bad influence on her daughter. They weren't meant to be in there.
I really enjoyed this stop. It's been quite peaceful because I feel like it's been relaxing. Yeah, it's been relaxing, but this is on another level. You don't feel...
You're gonna miss the bus.
It's relaxing,
Isabel,
but you don't feel as though
Isabel,
you're relaxing. I don't feel like we've been as relaxed as we actually have.
It's all very scheduled, you know that.
I'm not convinced it's so relaxing right now. I'm sure that the crew, the film crew, were like, right, let's get this shot, let's get this, we've got enough time. And the mum's just going, Isabel, the bus is coming. She's like, it's quite relaxing, but I've got to go. At the same time, she's trying to say it's relaxing, but it's not as relaxing as it could be, while showing us how unrelaxing it can be and why it's unrelaxing. And there's not time to relax on the bus either, as Isabel gives this little trinkle of information to her mum Eugenie.
I messed up a bit. Tell me. I read the timetable so badly wrong. We're gonna miss the ferry.
Are we?
Yeah.
We join back with Stephen and Viv. They're now right in the heart of Honshu at Hataku. I hope I've remembered that right. And they're looking for a wasabi farm, so it looks like they're going to be taking on some work.
This might be it, you know?
Enjoying the rural Japan they desired.
Oh, hello! We have found you!
My name is June.
Jim.
Jim.
Oh, June. Ah, June.
I quite like the fact that Jun had a sense of humour there, and he knew straight away how to let the English people know how to pronounce his name. Just like, Jim? No, June, July, August, stuff like that. I thought that was really good.
By trading their grafting spirit for a bed.
Oh, so they might not be actually getting money for this job, but they're going to get a bed for the night.
Whoa.
You thought yours was big, Stephen?
I feel like that line may have worked better when they're at the spa sauna.
So wasabi is a root.
This pungent root related to watercress.
I never knew that. I never knew wasabi was from a root and it was related to watercress. So learn something new every day. Let me know down below as well if that was a new fact for you.
Turn into a prince.
Go on, kiss him.
Kiss him.
That says a lot.
Stephen getting Viv back for a comment earlier. Also, I was worried that it was either going to jump in her mouth or it was such a small frog that she was just going to eat it anyway.
Stephen can be a little bit of an acquired taste. His family mostly love him.
Is it rude if I ask how old you are?
I'm 47.
People at the tennis club, they find him quite loud.
This is interesting compared to what I've seen of Stephen so far. Maybe he is going to take it too far later on with his jokes, but at the moment I think he seems alright, Viv, but she obviously knows him better than we do, so it'll be interesting to see later on if he takes it too far, gets too loud, especially when tiredness sets in.
Oh, nice fire. Beautiful.
I can't begin to imagine the pressure I would feel trying to use chopsticks in front of that many Japanese people, a family just watching me. I would probably drop it.
How old are you?
Seriously, for a minute, do you think that's the question Stephen is going to ask everyone? How old are you? How old are you?
Would it be possible, Sean, if you could give us a lift?
Yeah, I can go.
Equal parts cheeky but also helpful, they've actually convinced Jun, I hope I pronounced that right, give them a drive. Not all the way, but it's going to take them somewhere where they can then go on to Nara City, so that's going to save them some money. Alfie and Owen are at Mount Fuji. I didn't know if they were actually going to go up. I think they were only going to look at it, but Alfie says he's in race mode, he can't enjoy it as much. His mind is on the race and they're going to try and get to Kyoto to get closer to Nara City.
It's so cool.
Alfie and Owen also have their eyes on the checkpoint.
I'm wide into race mode. I just can't enjoy it.
No,
I just can't enjoy it.
But at least the clouds were gone from the top, so they got to actually see and take photos of the top of the mountain. At least they got that. I'm happy for them. And they're looking to get to Nara City either via Kyoto or Osaka.
Cover the 420 kilometres to Nara City overnight via either Kyoto or Osaka.
Oh, here we go. Why is there a cross next to it?
Oh, that must mean it's cancelled.
Or sold out. I'm gutted.
Yeah.
Mate, that bus is perfect.
Yeah, I know. We can't get it, so we need another plan.
Surprisingly enough, they find the perfect bus for them, but it's either cancelled or sold out. And Owen actually comes up with a surprising idea of...
I think we should go back to Tokyo at this point. I genuinely think we should. I mean, we know from Tokyo we can go anywhere, so...
We could still hit tomorrow hard. If it makes you feel better, we're significantly under budget for today. I think a lot.
Meanwhile, Bridie and Sharon are about to leave Tokyo on a 470-kilometre trip to Toba, which is going to take them closer to Nara City, but also they've got a job set up there, so hopefully get some budget back as well. And it feels like ages since we've seen Betty and James. I hope they're getting on all right.
There you go. It's 8 hours.
Lovely. 8 hours.
6 transfers. It's further than what we thought.
Back with Eugenie and Isabel, we find out they're just under 3/4 of their budget left now as they grab a bus, but it might have been a good idea that they avoided Tokyo. Isabel strikes up a friendship with one of the men on the bus and rather intelligently decides to get him to write down some keywords that they might need when talking to people in Japan. And Eugenie is seeing more of her daughter and what her daughter's like.
Isabella Des. What's your name? Jonsei Okori. Can you teach us some Japanese words? He's writing out the whole where, when, how, why.
Where, when, how,
much.
what. Yeah.
I've always kind of liked languages because it's patterns. I quite like little patterns and things. Doko desu ka? Doro desu ka?
I'm actually learning quite a bit about my daughter. I'm amazed at how quickly she's starting to pick up Japanese.
Finally, we catch up with Betty and James. They're in Tokyo. They've got a job to earn some money back. They're cleaning up some luxury rickshaws. Quite fun to see them pull them around and everything. It's quite fun to see them back. It feels like a long time since we've seen this pair in the show.
How much is this one?
3 million.
3 million.
Yes.
Ugh.
Just to put that in perspective for people at home, 3 million yen, which is what one of these luxury rickshaws costs, is just shy of £16,000 UK. That's more expensive than a lot of cars. Or just over $19,500. It's quite expensive. I can see why he wants them cleaned properly.
God, I feel like he's going to check it to a T. Okay, I think this one's done. Like, can you remember when we were kids and we used to ride our bikes and Dad used to make us clean them? Oh, it was the bane of my life.
It's kind of cute to see them bring up memories they share together that a lot of us may also be able to relate to, like cleaning these rickshaws when their dad used to make them clean their bikes when they were kids. It was quite cute to see things like that. That pushes them back up to 86% of the budget.
I have been made aware that it's really disrespectful to eat on the move in Japan. I feel extremely rude right now. But
Alfie's snapping necks and cashing checks. Not quite, but he doesn't give a damn because he has now found out it is culturally rude in Japan to eat while on the go, but he's doing it anyway to save time. He is in race mode. They choose Kyoto over Osaka because it's going to be quicker. Let's hope they can get a transfer. Betty and James, meanwhile, decide to go to Osaka from Tokyo. It'll be interesting to see what connections are available at Osaka compared to Kyoto.
Looking at the back, Stephen and Viv.
Hello.
Hello.
We need a train to Nara City, please, via Nagoya. We need it now.
With over 350 kilometres of ground to cover to reach the checkpoint.
Feeling confident we got this.
Yes.
We got a bit of time on the train, eat a banana, have a drink.
Road, eh?
Currently closer to Nara City than any of the other teams. Bridie and Sharon, in keeping with their shoestring strategy,
Let's go.
are squeezing in a shift, bussing tables. The Ama women are a community of free divers, still braving the waters of the Pacific to bring back seafood to feed their families and the customers of this restaurant.
Oh, this is really cool. We see the free diving women, just the way they just dive in backwards with that. But oh, this is really cool. They're diving down to get the actual fish that they serve, and it's quite cool to see.
Kyoto Station?
No Kyoto Station. Kyoto Fukakusa. Chain train.
Rather randomly, the boys get dropped off on the outside of Kyoto rather than at the station, which I think's weird, but they've got to find the station. They've got to see if they can get a connection. Isabel is using the phrase book and she's actually picking up the Japanese. She seems to sound quite fluent, and they're trying to get to Kyoto from the north, and it's going to be a close one maybe.
Nara City?
Isabel plans ahead.
They get the tickets to Nara, so they're on their way now, but they're at 68% of their budget. Is that going to hit them hard in the next run? Meanwhile, Alfio's having a meltdown. I can't help but think he's still getting to him about when he lost that map. But Owen is holding it together.
Train stops here. Oh no, does it? I don't know. I don't know. Get the bags. We need to get the bags.
This is Shintanama Station. Yeah, get off. I'm trying to get to Nara City, so where would we go now?
You have to go out and get a new ticket. It's actually the opposite direction you're trying to go.
Luckily, a local tells them how they can get a ticket for Nara, and it was actually in the opposite direction that they were actually going, so it saved them making a big mistake there.
The first checkpoint in the race to Lombok, Nara City. First into town, Eugenie and Isabel land in the west.
Made it to Nara City now at nightfall. The map shows 2 different train stations that they might arrive from and roughly where the checkpoint is. They're on their GPS devices. They're now going to get told the name of the hotel, where the checkpoint is, where they've got to sign in. They're going to have to find their own way there. Alfie and Owen arrive at the other train station to the north, which is slightly closer to the checkpoint. Is it going to be a close one?
The mentors.
The boys can close the gap.
Isabel's language skills are coming in handy.
Doko Gangoji Temple. Gangoji. Arigato.
We start to see the fast-paced shots of them being stressed out.
Oh my god, the other team.
It's the boys!
You ready for a foot race?
Yeah.
Go, go. Other side. Go, sugar. Oh, Isabel, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I can't do this.
Owen decides, unbeknownst to him, Eugenie's got 2 walking sticks and she can't really run, but he says, shall we go around the back and kind of circle around them somehow rather than a straight race neck running past them, it seems.
Should we try, like, loop round the back, maybe?
It's all in Japanese, mate.
Come on, Mum, come on.
Well, look, we know it's there, but I don't know where any other entrances will be.
We're just now walking away from it.
If we go left, we're looking around the back of it, and there might be an entrance there. And I bet that's where the other 2 have gone. I don't know what other side to try. Like, we've done 3.
But this isn't the side.
South, west, corner of Sarasua Pond.
Never eat shredded wheat.
That's a line if you're in the UK you've probably not heard since school, but everyone knows it for North East South West.
Nara Hotel, this is it.
As we see Alfie and Owen race towards the door, we see a figure in front racing towards the door. So I assume at this point that Alfie and Owen aren't first, but we're going to find out. Jeannie and Isabel get into the hotel. It's called a temple as well, but they open the book, the guest book. Has anyone else signed it yet? No. Isabel and Eugenie are first at the end of the first stretch at the first checkpoint.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting all emotional.
Next are Alfie and Owen, second place. You can't help but wonder at this point, if Isabel and Eugenie had taken Tokyo, would they have been quicker because they got on that longer boat, didn't they? You also wonder, but she wouldn't have learned those language skills, which seem to be coming in handy now from taking that bit out. But I feel like they could have got there a lot quicker than they did, even though they are first. And only 2 minutes behind, Alfie and Owen have done quite well, especially since they went back to Tokyo at one point. And then it's interesting that they took different routes and it's not that different in time.
Jeannie and Isabel were low key at the start line and they're high key at the finish line.
That's another thing I like to see on a shirt. Low key at the start line, high key at the finish line. I think that's really cool from Alfie. With a budget remaining of 82%, Betty and James come in third.
We made it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Third. Perfect.
Nice.
I am pleasantly surprised of how well that we've worked together.
You okay, Mum? Yeah, I'm good.
As we flick between the 2 other couples, we find out that Stephen and Viv actually made it 4th place. They're not last.
Focus more on the enjoyment side, the leisurely pace, seeing the scenery.
Eugene and Isabel won.
Wow, that's incredible. We were quite convinced that we would be last place, so it was so lovely to be within 2 hours of the leading team.
Yes.
Oh, you are.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you.
The way Stephen hugged and kissed Viv then, and from the angle slightly behind the receptionist, he puts his arm out and he's actually telling them, enjoy your stay, I'm bowing. But it looked like he was reaching over to Stephen for a kiss there, or a hug. Bridie and Sharon come in 5th, but that's nothing to be ashamed of. They've all tried hard this episode. In a minute, we're going to see what the time differences are. Isabel and Eugenie was my guess to win the whole thing. I don't know if they will, but at the moment, it seems like those language skills are going to come in very handy for Isabel. And it's quite cool that they won the first leg. I didn't actually think they'd win the first leg, even from the start. Thought Alfie and Owen might boost ahead, with that testosterone and rushing about, and they almost did. But I still think Eugenie and Isabel have got a good chance of winning the whole thing. What do you think at home?
Let's just carry on being us and keep being nice, people.
Yeah. That's a nice message as well from Bridie. Friday, a nice sentiment. Maybe that should be on a I've talked today about putting funny quotes on shirts, but just be nice to people, I think, is a good one as well.
Yeah, definite.
After 5 days and 1,600 kilometres, just 4 hours and 14 minutes separate the teams.
We get a preview for next week's episode. I just want to say, Stephen trying to cut the queue there. Maybe this is what Viv was warning us about.
Can we cut in? We're in a race.
If you want me to cover the second episode, I'll probably even cover it anyway, because this is a current thing. But I appreciate you watching. As I say, I'm still covering Goosebumps, Haunting Hour, eventually Are You Afraid of the Dark? Which episode of that would you like me to tackle first? But I appreciate you watching. I just wanted to try to cover something current on a regular basis. I think it's 8 episode series, and the 9th episode is usually a highlights reunion episode. But I really appreciate you watching. If you subscribe, that'd mean a lot. If you like it, if you like the video, like it, touch that notification bell, and you can be told when I next cover Race Across the World. Also, tell me what you thought about the episode, who you think's going to win the next leg, who you think's going to win the whole thing. And usually in episode 3 or 4 they randomly get rid of last place, so if they're going to do that this series, it'll be interesting. Sometimes they don't, if one of the teams runs out of money, etc. But I'll see you next time. Until then, make sure you take it easy. See ya.